Alrighty, I'm just out here monitoring a protected property. I just want to take a moment to talk about sea level rise and marsh migration, as well as ghost forests. Because what we're walking on right here is potato fields. And if you notice, a whole lot of potatoes going on here. Looks a whole lot more like a black needle rush, big spartina, sand cordgrass, marsh pink, marsh fimbri, southern seaside goldenrod, switchgrass, Virginia glasswort, saltgrass, as well as seashore dropseed. All things that can only tolerate salinated ecosystems as a competitor. And you know, other things like marsh fleabane and whatnot, late bone set, baccharis, southern red cedar that ain't doing too hot, as well as a whole lot of loblolly pine that is less than a whole lot now. And over here, this sucker, this beet booper down in yonder, is monitoring water levels. Because this property is a saltwater mitigation bank site. This property is going through the permitting process to restore all of this back to marsh hammock, because that's what it used to be, but right now it's high marsh is what it's trying to be. If you see all of this, and these pine trees, you look at them, you know, these about, you know, with the salinity in here, these are probably 20-year-old pines, maybe 15, and they're pretty dead right now. But they got that tall over the last decade or two without dying, and then all of a sudden they all died. That's because sea levels down here in the South Carolina Lowcountry are rising. They're rising at a rapid rate. They've risen about a foot in the last 100 years, and most of that has happened in the last 30. Just in my lifetime, there are appreciable differences in sea level rise. There are areas in my own yard. There are areas in my family's property. There are areas everywhere where I work that I see every year that are changing. Every single year. This is none of that, you know, theoretical potential, maybe in 100 years from now something will change that folks in the Midwest might be sick of hearing. Down here in the deep south, where we here have about a 7 to 8 foot tidal exchange, we already have a foot more water than we did 100 years ago. All this infrastructure was built for growing Sea Island cotton, for potatoes, for collards and cabbage about 100 years ago, and all of it is going underwater now. Folks need to recognize, whether you think it's man-made or whether you think it's natural, it is happening. It is not something that can be ignored. It is not some theoretical thing that a bunch of eggheads are pointing at numbers on a graph and screaming about. It is real. It is happening in real time in front of people's eyes. You know, the number of folks that I meet who are climate change deniers, who have lived here their whole lives, is pretty close to a fat goose egg, because things are not the same when they were a kid. They are also not the sort of people who don't support conservation, because things are not the same when they were a kid. Because they've seen this stuff happen. They've got the family Bible. They've got the oral histories from their ancestors about where things were. They rode around in the truck. They rode around on the tractor. They saw how everything was dry, how it was productive farmland. And now they're sitting there in their lazy boy, looking out the window, talking to their grandkids and great-grandkids. And what used to be productive farm fields is now full up. Marsh fleabane and switchgrass, slender golden top, another salt-tolerant species. The pine trees are all dying that they planted 20 years ago. Seas are coming up. Things are changing. The marsh is migrating whether we want it or not, and you can't stop it. The only thing you can do is get out of its way. And what we're trying to do here and encourage here and with this video is we really need to be smart about our planning. We need to be thinking 100 years out at minimum on, at the very least, the intermediate sea level rise predictions. Because if we don't curb these rising seas, we don't stop pumping groundwater and causing subsidence, if we don't stop filling in wetlands that accelerates runoff and increases flashiness of wetland systems, we don't stop putting in impervious surfaces in the routes that marshes are going to migrate, we don't stop putting in bulkheads in the way of the marsh so that the extreme tides and storm surges that we're getting from increased hurricane frequency and increased rain bomb events can erode out, blow the bank out, and cause accelerated erosion in the long term, even though you might be able to waste 6 figures to save a couple extra feet of your yard for the next 10 years. You're going to lose a couple dozen yards in the next 30. Anyway, I digress. Matthew 7:24 through 27, the foolish builder. That's a lot of folks right now moving to Charleston. They are buying up all of the land, all of the places that the locals, folks like my families I work with, and the families who have had the foresight, compassion, and philanthropy to protect their land for its natural resources and for future generations, to conserve ecosystem services and natural resources, have known about for centuries that saltwater goes where saltwater wants to go, and you can't stop it. And just because your property hadn't flooded in the last 5 years, it doesn't mean it ain't gonna flood the next 5 years. You can't stop a hurricane. You can't stop 20 inches of rain. It takes an army to keep gators and beavers from digging holes in your bluffs. All it takes is one freak storm, and there goes hundreds of thousands of dollars in infrastructure and your home into the ocean. If you look at historic settlement distributions down here on the Sea Islands, it's amazing how all the plantation houses are built on high bluffs, on the least arable soil with the highest drainage rate. It's amazing how all the freedmen communities that settled during the Reconstruction era on foreclosed plantations built on the highest areas of the property with the sandiest, most well-drained soils that was the least arable and the least productive. It's almost as if they understood the landscape and could read it and knew that things like hurricanes and king tides and flash floods and microbursts and tornadoes happen in certain places that they don't happen other places. That where the water ponds, it ponds because it's a wetland and not because it's a place that needs to be drained so that you can build your house. There is so much stuff that is obvious to folks who have been here for forever. Folks who have been here for 5 minutes are, I don't want to say ignorant about, they are deliberately unwilling to comprehend when told to their face, when shown directly in front of them. When you can walk out into their yard and you can say, that is a marsh grass that is growing in your yard. That is not turf grass. You should not, be mowing that. You should not be building here. They just think, oh yeah, a little bit more dirt and then it'll be grass. That's fine. And in 5 years, tides will be up that much higher. In 10, they'll be up that much higher. And in 30, they'll be up another foot. Anywho, you can't hold back the tide. You can't fight Mother Nature. All you can do is plan in advance, make smart decisions, and quit making dumb decisions. Anyway, I'm just ranting. But if you like the kind of random rambling I'm spitting out here, consider giving the video a like, comment, complain about what's ruining where you live. What is causing that? Is it corporations? Is it retirees? Is it exploitative natural resource extraction? What's going on where you live and what do you hate? Go down there and vent in the comments. And if you want to hear more mad ramblings of a man out in the mosquito-infested swamp of the Low Country, you gotta subscribe, so smash the gray button down there. Until next time, I'm out.